All right. We look at you at foot strike. So I took both of you when your foot comes down. Chapman, same exact thing. Okay? So the biggest thing that I see is, from this angle, we don't have the best view of how much your shoulders have turned. So from behind, we're going to see this. We're going to see that this has not turned and this has not turned. But this and this have equally turned. Meaning neither of them have turned, but one of them should have. Do you know which one should have? Yes, so we look at Chapman and we look at his feet, we look at his knee, and we look at his back hip, and we see that they have turned. Okay, so in the slow motion video that I just posted of you, I slowed down and went back and forth. Okay, so you can have that as a point of reference. You will see that there's zero hip turn by the time your foot comes down. Okay, so right now your hips are neutral. Your upper half is technically turned a little bit, just like your lower half is technically turned a little bit. Okay, because your front leg looks exactly like his. Okay, so upper half doesn't look that dramatically different right now, but from behind you would see this. Okay, so one more time. The upper half right now on you has turned a little bit. We see Chapman. If I look at him behind, if I go backward, look at how deep behind his body his left elbow is. I never see that happen with you. Okay? And you don't have to do that, but I'm just pointing out the differences. Okay? So once we come in a foot strike, his arm is more back towards second base, and yours is more toward the second baseman. Also, your hips have not turned at all at foot strike aside from your front hip. So we need more overall hip turn before your foot hits the ground. Okay? So you need to let me know if this doesn't make sense. Obviously you're going to be watching this with your dad. Okay? So everything we see afterward doesn't matter. Okay? We don't need to understand this stuff. Okay? That's for me to know what it should look like. We need to focus all on this movement. Okay, so let's back up, spend one more minute looking at the differences on getting to foot strike from you and Mr. Chapman. Okay, so top of your leg kick. I would say that's dramatically different in the style of what's going on. Okay, we've talked about this. Your foot can't do what it's doing right now because you can't throw to first base. Okay, so when you see Chapman lift, he goes to the center of his body and then closes off. This is very advantageous because now he can still pick off the first base right now. You cannot. You have to go home because your foot crossed your back hip. Okay, so we can't let your foot cross here. I know that's a terrible line, but you get the idea. Okay. We also notice that you are over your back foot where he is. I don't have on my app right now. Here, there we go. I didn't have a perspective to draw that line. Okay, we see that he's inside his back foot. Okay, we've talked about this, moving forward as we lift. These are all going to affect the things that we see when we come into foot strike, which is the most significant point in our throw. Take him down where his hand goes down. Now his hand's just as on its way up. Take you where your hand goes down. Look how much farther he's gone. Look at how much different he looks. He's turned away. He's farther down the mound. Okay? So we're looking at similar positions as far as the timing of when things are happening, and then we're seeing differences in where the body is. Okay? Take you up to where your arm just gets parallel to the ground. Take him up to that same position. Look at how different his body looks. Okay, so this is where I was suggesting get your arm up later, okay, because you can. You can go farther before your arm gets up. So if I look at your upper half right now, it looks very similar to his, but lower half and relative position is extremely different. And that's not to say you're bad. That's just to say, hey, these are the places that you can get better. Okay? And then we go back into foot strike. Okay, so these are the only things that we need to be looking at is those movements up until foot strike, how you stride into foot strike. Okay? So all of this, okay, can be simplified into this. This is the stride phase. This is you striding down the mound. Okay? We don't throw the ball until right now. Okay? So stride phase, throwing phase. We don't throw the ball until after our foot hits the ground. Okay? So we need to get much better in the stride phase so our arm doesn't hurt and we can pitch instead of sit and talk during our lessons. Hopefully that's helpful. I know it was lengthy, but it needed to happen. Peace out, bro.